All right, we are on. We are on. It took a second there for everything to go through. So I apologize for everybody that we were a few minutes late. But I do want to thank everybody. Welcome to Monday night. It is a wonderful Monday night. I don't know what all you might have going on,
The
but
national
Cubby's
championship.
got nothing happening.
I watched national championship. Washington playing Michigan in the NCAA football championship.
Yeah, so he's got that going on because he informed me that he's getting snow. And if we got as much snow as you're calling for, I think I would cry.
Yes.
I would just straight up cry. Like you said, 7 o'clock tonight to like 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, like an inch an hour.
Yeah, they're calling an inch an hour, especially overnight. It's gonna
Yeah,
just set
no,
on
no.
us.
I'm just gonna say, Cubby, you need to move. Um, I don't care. That is just nasty stuff. That's like Ben Stowe type of snow.
Yeah, he but mine doesn't stay till June like him. So mine leaves about March and you know, if you live in this area, you know it's gonna happen and you just deal with it. I can tell my brides and grooms if they book in December, January, this is gonna be just a factor that you're gonna have to live with.
So here's a question that I've got for you because that's a great point. Before we even get to what we're the main topic of tonight, which is going to be all about wedding shows and hopefully some advice that we can pass along about everything from how you decide to what you decide to bring and all the follow up that goes with that. But how do you handle those winter weddings? Like, because that's always my fear. Anytime I take a winter one, of like a couple's not going to cancel their wedding.
No.
So what do you do?
So we talked pre going on air. I actually had a corporate event tomorrow for a major grocer here in the store, and they've canceled that one. And I can enforce my contract, but it's a relationship that I have with that major grocer that I do a lot of their stores, and I don't want to ruin that relationship. So I'm like, look, you don't have to pay me. I get it. We reschedule, but I do six of their stores, so I don't want to piss one. Didn't want to make one mad.
Yeah,
You
John's
know,
not on the show tonight.
okay, cool. I don't want to make anybody. I don't want to make you get back to like a district manager that they had to pay when it was kind of an act of God. And I get it's in my contract, act of God, but I said I'm like, you know what? I'll sit home on Tuesday night. It's cool. I'll make it up somewhere else. But the wedding,
That's
going back to the
corporate.
wedding,
Yeah,
huh?
corporate again, because like I'll take a corporate event because I feel like a company is going to do exactly. They're going to cancel the event because the last thing they want to do is potentially injure any of their employees over a holiday party. Couples a little different.
Yeah, they don't cancel, and so I've actually had several of them. I just leave. I always get there 2 hours early. Sometimes I leave three and a half hours, depending on the snowstorm. You know what how it's happening or if it's already happened. I leave with plenty of time to get there. And making sure in sometimes guests come in there. I've had snowstorms happen while the wedding's going on, and the bride and groom. My comment is, well, ladies and gentlemen, the longer you stay, the more times you have to work on the roads. You know, you leave now, the roads might not be done. So but leave on your own accord, leave on your own accordance. And I've had one get me a room that night because I couldn't make it home, which I thought was very sweet of them. Put me in the hotel right next to the venue, and I thought that was very nice. And other than that, you just drive super slow, just 40 miles an hour, 35 miles, just slow and go, and just be there for them and stay positive and try to make the best memory you can as they battle that.
So there's another benefit to you not having trailer, right? Like we've talked about the
Yes.
fact that you don't have a trailer. That's another benefit right there because if you've got a trailer, that's another potential issue within the slick conditions that can make it even more difficult. Um, it's funny. I still remember. So this was years ago because it was before I had my Highlander. I had a Corolla that I actually towed a trailer with. Believe it or not, you can do
Oh,
that. Um, and do it pretty well. But I would never take anything in winter. Like it was my rule. I wouldn't take any events from like mid-November to like mid-March. And there were still some risky parts in both of those ends, but that was kind of my philosophy. School events, corporate parties, different story, but I wouldn't take any weddings. And I had one couple who reached out and they're like, "We really want you." And I'm like, "Listen, I'm sorry, that's my policy." I was like, "The last thing I want to do is to commit to your party, to commit to your wedding, and I just can't make it." And of course, towing a trailer with a Corolla, a couple flakes, and I wasn't making it. But I still remember. and there was a huge snowstorm the weekend of their wedding.
Oh,
Like to the point that had I agreed to that, I don't know if I would have made it. Like I would have made it out of my driveway. I would have made it down the hill out of my house. Like we had a major road that was out. But then after that, all bets were off. Like I don't think I would have made it beyond that. Even now with the Highlander, I think I still would have had difficulty because that storm, the way it came in, it just there was nothing. They weren't doing anything. So yeah,
and the
yeah. So
situation that I shared, that the ones that I got put up overnight. I mean, it's been years since that happened. I mean, it does snow in Iowa. It's a fact of life. We deal with it. Load-in sucks sometimes, depending on how you get in and out. But the rare situations that it snows on the day of, and we got snowed in or something like that, that has happened. And like I said, I've been doing this for 18 years. Has maybe happened 3, 4 times tops, honestly.
okay. Okay. So it's not as regular, but in the same respect, like
Yeah.
they're used to the weather too, and that makes a big difference. Like we're used to some snow here, but it seems like especially if it's a weekend, they'll take their time on it versus like if it's during a school week, then they're like moving on stuff pretty quick. So yeah, just some little differences there, I guess, and that's understandable. All right, so let's shift gears here because we are going to talk wedding shows tonight, and obviously, if we hit on something or you've got questions, drop them in the chat. We are only watching it at youtube.com/@ DJNTV shows. That is the channel that you want to make sure that you are tuned into. That is where we will be watching that, where all of our shows are being streamed now. So make sure you're over there. If you're watching it some other place, I don't see those questions. I only see them at YouTube. So just be aware of that. So we're talking wedding shows. So the first question I have for you is when you're thinking about a show, how do you pick? Because I doubt you do everyone that comes across your plate. So how do you pick and choose which ones are yes, I will do that and never touching that with a 5-foot pole?
I like to do established shows that have been around for several years, shows that promote on the radio and the TV, not just social media and things of that nature, but they also do like cross promotions through radio and TV. So there's one in my area that they do it 2 times a year, one in August, one in January. There's other shows in my area, but they're smaller, like hotel shows, or there's another guy who puts one on locally that just are not that successful. Um, but I don't know what you deem successful. I mean, you could go on the show and maybe be the only DJ there and you get every business, I mean, you can talk to every bride that's there. So that would be successful, but um and how do you determine your success? Somebody's like, well, I booked one show, I made my money back in my booth. Well, not really. You've almost got to book 3 shows to for your time, and then what you pay yourself for your business, what you say, so you always have to book 3 to 4 shows off one bridal show to make it worth your while, to make your money back. Because if we're short-sighted and go, well, I made my money back on one, by booking one, not really. Are you working that wedding for free? Basically, because that's what you're saying. So you have to divide what your costs are. Being a multi-op, I incentivize my people for being there. Not only do I pay them a flat rate to be there, but I also incentivize, look, if you talk to a couple and I book them, I'll pay you an extra $50. So if they book 6 weddings, they're walking there $300, and plus I'm paying $100 for the day. So it makes their Saturdays or Sundays worthwhile. But going back to your original decision, I'm sorry, kind of all over the place.
No, we're good.
Um,
We'll be all over the place tonight. It's fine. No worries.
it would be find a show that and these larger markets like Chicago and Houston and Dallas and that have multiple big shows. Man, I don't know which one I do, but in my market, I try to find the ones that do that cross promotions through radio, TV, and they get a lot of brides through there.
And when you're deciding a show, I think that becomes very important is how they're going to get the word out. If it's an established show, you should have known about it, right? Like I that's one of the key elements that I bring in. Even though I've been married for years now, if there's a show that's been around, most likely I've heard of it. And if I haven't, that tells me a lot right there as well. So I'm with you. I like the established shows, but I've also noticed that there's been kind of a shift in some of the established shows. And maybe you haven't seen this, but we have two two radio groupings in our area, and both of them put on a show that they had in our immediate area. And has the show's definitely been on the decline. And the other one has been kind of holding its own. I would not say it's been gaining in popularity, but it's not been falling off to my understanding. Both of them promote it crazily on the radio. They do their own social media aspect to it, so they're promoting it in the right way. I just feel like for whatever reason, the one show is not performing the way that it used to. Um, and I do want to say or attribute it possibly to how they handle prizes. They used to give straight up, they gave cash to the winning couple or the winning couples that they would pull out. And then it became, well, we're going to give you like services. Like they would get the people to volunteer service or buy in with their services. And so the appeal was not quite the same. So I think that made a big difference. But um so definitely picking the shows. So when you pick them, how do they handle the people coming to you? Like for example, and to reiterate or to kind of pull in what I have, most of the shows in our area have a form that the couples take around to the different vendors, and they sign basically saying that you came to talk to them. And so in order to be eligible for at least the big prizes, you have to have signatures from all the vendors.
Yeah.
Other shows I know, and especially in other areas, that's not the case. Is that an established practice? Is that something you see at your shows?
They tried that once, and I bitched about it because I don't want to talk to people that are not have no interest in DJ company. All the reason they're stopping by my booth is to take my time for me to little sign something or put a sticker on there, and I don't have time for that, depending on the rate of the show. I think there's other ways they can draw for prizes that make sure that they see every vendor, saying depending on the size of the show. Um, I'm not a fan of that because I don't get time to, oh, are you looking for a DJ? No, we already booked one. Oh, well, here, thank you. Here's my, here's my signature. When somebody else just walked by and I didn't get an opportunity to speak with them, because I was busy signing their damn thing. They tried that once here and it didn't go over very well with a lot of the vendors. He's like, oh, let's take some time with it from tire kickers that sometimes, and I don't get it. Why? I think it's a rite of passage, but some brides will go even if they have everything booked just to be, say they did a bridal show as a rite of passage, and that's cool. As they walk by, I'm like, hey, you guys looking for a DJ? No, fantastic, congratulations. You need a photo booth? Nope. Well, then I can't help you. Good luck. Or something funny. I got nothing for you. So we chuckle or whatever, but I like to engage everybody that walks by the booth. So
And the one thing I liked about that, they got to go around to everybody, is it guaranteed I didn't have a bad spot at the show, right? Like I've been in some shows where because of the layout of the venue, there was like two or three different rooms, and some were really big and some were kind of small. I remember one, oh my gosh, it was in a hotel, and they had banquet room, great. They had a lobby, and then there was a bunch of us in a hallway of the hotel. Like it just the way it was a all single story, like hotel, motel, whatever you want to call it. And so they had a bunch of us down the hallway. I really think had they not required people to go see everybody, majority of them never would have come down my way.
right.
They never would have come down the hall. Now I never did that show again for a bunch of different reasons, but like that was one of the things that does appeal to me, is that I'm not going to have a bad show, because if they really want to be in for these prizes, they're going to come down. Now, that can say something else though too, in that, what are they there for? Are they there to gather information, or are they there for the prizes? Because if they're there to gather information, then like I've had some which, like, as we're walking around and stuff like that, I'm talking to them like, oh, by the way, before we forget, let me get your paper so I can sign that. We're not worried about that. And we don't really care about the prizes. We're here to get the information. And those are the couples that I was like, awesome, let's have this great conversation,
Yeah.
because then it's not a big deal. One of the other benefits I would say to that required talking, I really think unless you bring something of equipment wise, you can look like just about any other vendor there. And for a lot of the shows that I would do, and we'll talk about what you bring and how you differentiate yourself in a moment here. But when couples would come around, I have TV, I have TVs on truss and I have some uplighting to shine off what I have. They don't know if I'm a videographer. They don't know if I'm a photographer. They don't know, right? Just a quick glance from a distance, they don't necessarily know what I am. So if they have a photographer and from a distance, all they see is pictures on the screen, they might think I'm a photographer and never come talk to me. Now that's on me. I didn't set myself up in a way that showed what I was. But for a long time, the what do you bring to a show? Don't bring your stuff. Don't bring your stuff. Like you don't want to bring your stuff. They don't care about your stuff. Yeah, but something about my stuff tells them who I am. So there's a little difference. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit, right? So we kind of talked about how you pick some of the shows and that well established piece.
And one
Um,
thing, can I add? I thought of something while you were talking. Another factor is, when is the show? Is it the first show of the season, or is it the third show of the season within your market? You always want to try to get on the hop on if the show's good, the very first show of the year, which this one is. Um, because a lot of times they'll go and then they won't go to the second, third show because they've already got everything they need. So also look at what show that, is it the first show in your market? Is it the second show in your market? If the first show sucks, then you had to go with the second show, because you'll get more brides. But generally, if you get the first show, then you get first dibs at talking to a lot of people.
I would add there's a little disclaimer there because depending upon what you view as your market might be different than what your couples view as the market.
True.
So, for example, I talked about the two radio stations here in town, but if you go 20 minutes south of us, there's another show that's produced in that area. And yeah, you'll get some crossover between the two, but not as much as you might think. So when you're thinking about the shows and you're thinking about, okay, which show in the market, think about what is kind of forefront versus some of the others. Um, okay. So let's shift gears and let's talk about setups. All right. When you go to a show, do you typically have the same setup
Yeah.
regardless of what show? Okay. I know some DJs that are like, well, if I'm doing this show, I'm going to bring this type of thing. If I do this show, I'm going to do this kind of a thing. And I never understood that. So we can disregard or ignore that. There we go. So what do you bring? What does your setup? We should have had pictures. I wasn't even thinking here. Sorry to everybody. But what do you typically have and do for your setups?
I bring my Danny Mac stand because, if you have a Toadmatic or if you have some with a TV, bring your nice setup. That sets you apart from other DJ companies. It says, oh, they're a DJ. I bring one speaker, the white speaker that matches my white Danny Mac stand. So, they can tell I don't play any music because I don't want to make all my neighbors mad. I don't, no music. It's just sitting there, not even plugged in. My Danny Mac stand is plugged in, but that's just so my controller, my Pioneer can go through the colors and it's pretty. And like, oh wow, look at that. And it's got the lights underneath. Uplights against the back curtain. You know, uh, Probably a nice pretty blue, or a nice pink or something, kind of spotty, whatever's, might be the color tone for that year might be. A TV on his truss stand, flipping videos, mostly of dance footage, not a lot of stills. But I try to use a lot more video, short clippets of videos, so that they can see the dance floor. But once again, try not to use stills because I said that will get you confused with a photographer. And then my photo booth just not plugged in or whatever, but to the side, so you know I have a photo booth as well. But not up and operational. I do get a 10 by 20, which is a larger booth, so we can spread out because like I said, I bring all my people, so we all have room to work. But just kind of snippets of everything that we offer. Um, just so they can see that, that's our clean setups. And like I said, I've even a lot of shows we've been talking about how I've been working on consistency throughout the last year to where everybody looks the same. So I have no problem going, well, three of us got this. I don't have that problem any longer. This is what we look like, and this is what's going to come out. And to some brides, for people that might not have a stand just yet, or you may be on the fence about getting a stand, or Toadmatic or a TV in the front. I know people bring out both that have the day mast and stand. Say we can either do this, and this is cost, whatever. So whatever you have that will really showcase how clean your gear looks. Right? Again, you say that doesn't matter, but my Danny Max will beat an Odyssey case on the table every single time. You know what I'm saying? As far as looks, and I'm not knocking that. I had that for a lot of years. Odyssey, my Pioneer was in a coffin case, and I had a table topper from DJ Skirt. DJ, I still have one. DJ Skirts had them back in the day. They're great table toppers where it hit everything, and it looked clean too. But my Danny Max will totally outshines my Odyssey coffin case.
And it's a visual piece that's gonna catch a little bit. And we've there you don't have to go far in the Facebook groups to see people arguing, oh, you need to use a stand. Oh no, you don't. It's ridiculous. People don't care. Here's the thing: at a wedding show, when you're trying to set yourself potentially apart from the other companies that are there, that is a way to do it. That is a way to do it. Here's the other thing: while our couples might not also care, you're not only also doing that show for the couples, you're doing it for the other vendors. And that's something that I think a lot of people ignore. When I do a wedding show, the first half of it, once I'm done setting up, I'm walking around, I'm chatting with my favorite photographers, I'm chatting up the videographers. If there's a new venue I haven't heard of, I'm going and introducing myself just because, like, oh, that's a new venue. Like, I got to learn about this. Um, those kind of things will set you apart tremendously with those other vendors, and it will help them refer you because they see it and they see the same product week in and week out. And when they see something that's new or they see something that is step up, that's going to catch their eye, and that's going to help you with that. I would say one of my best shows, and it's kind of funny because it was one of my best. I felt the best about it. It didn't turn into anything, but I think that had something to do with somewhat with the venue and the type of show. Like, there wasn't a huge turnout. It was like the first time the show had ever been done. It was a new venue. But I decided to jump in to try and get in on this venue. I brought my new booth, and it was shortly after I had it. I'd had it for maybe about a year at that point, and I had a bunch of pictures from the engagement. Typically what I would put on the front of the booth, and I just let that run as my slideshow. And I took a little, like my Bose S1, and I put it underneath, and I actually had it playing music with this real light. There wasn't anybody right on top of me, but it added a little bit of energy in the room, or energy in like my area, so that it could just kind of play through. And that's all I did. Like, I didn't do anything tremendous. It was low volume. I could have a conversation without having to talk louder for any reason. But if people stopped talking, they could hear there was music going on. And played through some of those playlists. If you do something like that where you're playing music, be aware that if somebody's on top of you, it's not going to be a good idea. And you don't need to play music to solidify that you're a DJ, right? Because I've heard that argument. Oh, I need to play music. I need to be mixing because that's going to show. But if you're mixing or you have somebody mixing, think about the trade shows that we go to. When you're at a booth that has somebody mixing, can't understand the people that you're trying to talk to. So that's going to be a difficult piece. So what you do in the booth needs to be reflective. But that was one of my favorite pieces. I had that booth there. I really think it set me apart. I felt the other great thing that was really great was I just basically rolled in and rolled out. Um, versus some of the other ones where it was like, all right, bring the trussing in, put the TV up on the trussing. Like, it was a peanut. It really was.
But
So,
you set gold right there that I think we should go back to. After you get done setting up your booth, man, go and I also grabbed Starbucks gift cards. You know, I'm a big fan of Starbucks gift cards. Man, I haven't seen you, last time I was at your venue, we talk about it, and I passed him like a $10 Starbucks gift card. Hey, have a coffee on me. Thanks for referring me. We really appreciate it. Love working with you. Oh my gosh. And just throw him a $10 gift card, with a couple cards in there with it. Boom. Like I said, oh my God, thanks. I can't, and then it just goes miles. A $10 gift card goes miles. Gives him a free
Mhm.
coffee at Starbucks. And then you throw some business cards on with them when you hand it to them and thank them
Nice.
for working with you.
Nice. I like that. And that's because especially when they're in the midst of that, that's something that can be they could I don't want to say they're going to be nervous but they could potentially be on edge. They could potentially be stressed because, depending upon what they do and the type of service that they offer, some of these shows can be make or break for them. And some of the shows are really expensive. So they spend a lot of money to be there. And so giving them that Starbucks card, just saying, "Hey, I was thinking about you. I knew you were going to be at the show. I wanted to stop by. I wanted to say hi, connect real quick, and I wanted to give you this. Have a coffee on me tomorrow. Whatever. Like have a drink on me tomorrow to just to kind of cool down and enjoy yourself. And I think that would be um a cool impact. I like that
I
idea.
I'd buy $100 worth and just pass them out like to my favorite vendors, the people I love work with, my photographers. I think Bill Herman did a great one yesterday. If you haven't seen it, why vendors don't talk to me. And it's not personal sometimes, but I've had some photographers like they're two photographers, they come in, they just talk with each other, they don't really talk to the DJ, and it's like you have no synergy with them, right? But then you have other photographers like, oh my God, Cody, I haven't seen you in a long time, and those are the ones that, that refer me. And that's why the ones I get the cards to, the ones that I work with that are a pleasure and like, oh, it's been fun working with you. Yeah, but we didn't talk the whole night, well, you don't have don't have a synergy with, they just stay off on their own for whatever awkwardness they have. But, um, yeah, I don't really pass a card to them. It's just the people I love working with, and the venues I love working with, and the photographers. Because in the bridal food chain, those people are first a lot of times.
Yeah.
Definitely
Especially
venues.
those venues.
Yeah.
Especially the venues. Like that's one of the things where I keep coming back to. I need to have more information. I need to have more social media presence because if my venues decide to change hands, whether it's the manager or something else, I'm going to find myself in a much more difficult situation. And in fact, I was doing a wedding and a coordinator that was like my go-to from one of the previous ones. The first coordinator loved me. The second coordinator or sub coordinator or whatever, she loved me. It was great. The new one, like when she decided to go on to a different business, the new one, I was like, this is awesome. So they're all gone. Since the last wedding I left, they're all gone. And so now it's like the people that are there don't know me from Adam. So it's like, I got to do something. I've got to figure now I'm going to be there again soon. So now I just have to apply the love to the new person. But still, like, you got to keep that in mind. So make sure you're always reaching out because also if there is a new person, you're probably going to find out at the wedding shows. If there's a new coordinator at the venue, whatever it might be, you're probably going to find out at the wedding shows because typically the off season is when those changes happen.
It's like baseball. You get back in the spring, going to new venues, you find out where all the changes are at. It's seriously like baseball to find out what the new roster is.
Oh my goodness, yes. Okay, so by the way, real quick here before we go, I want to talk about like what do you hand out next to not to the vendors, we got that, but to the couples that are coming by. But one thing that I did get thinking of, we've talked about capturing video. And I don't know if everybody's kind of realized this lately, but for the longest time when we captured video, everybody was doing it, landscape. And now the latest because of Instagram, everybody's going vertically. But if you're putting it on a TV, you need it back in landscape because that's the way your TV is, unless you're being creative in how you have your TV mounted. So keep that in mind when you're capturing video, not just for the social media purposes, but also for your wedding shows. Make sure you've got some of both orientations to be able to pull from. So that was just my 2 cents there. Okay. So when you're at the show, couples are coming around, you spread the love, you love on them and everything else. They want Cubbie, of course, and somebody from Cubbie's team. But what are you handing out? What are you giving out? What are you doing so that 20 minutes after the show, they still remember who you are?
I think 20 minutes after the show, a lot of it's in my presentation. I do hand them a piece of pricing sheet, right? And it's got all explains all different services that we have, and it's a very nice pricing sheet. We have business cards that we staple to them, so they're just boom already there. So each DJ has their own business card. It all comes to a central office number, but they all have their own business card and email address if they reach out to the DJ personally or whatever. It's cool. But we do hand out a pricing sheet. But for them to remember who you are, like when they get home from Halloween, they dump out their bag full of candy or all their brochures they met from everybody else. It's what you said to them when you talked to them. If you made them laugh, if you talk. My end of everything is after I get done with the whole presentation, I'm like, Dan, you're probably asking yourself, probably saying to yourself, Cubbie, how much is that? Go ahead and say that, Dan.
Cubbie, how much is that?
Funny shit ass. I was just getting to that. So, you know what I'm saying? So like and I even do that on my phone conversations. I go through the whole spiel. And you're like, oh my gosh. And they say, well, as I say, you probably ask yourself, Cubbie, how much is that? Go ahead and say that. And they'll say that. And then they just kind of chuckle. It just breaks the mood before you hit them with the price. And then you hit them with the price. And they go, well, that's not that bad because you've just laid out everything you're going to do for them. And then I always make a joke of, well, I can't go higher. Well, no, no. So I always talk. And if the bride shows up with her mom or her wedding posse, I said, I see you brought your sister today, but I'd love to talk to you and your mom when you get a bride, after the show. And the mom's like, I'm her mom. I'm like, I knew that. Okay. You look 70 years old, but I just want to make you feel good because, it's cheesy, it's corny, but you got to have a personality when you sell and you got to talk about what you have and just have that funny ending. Maybe that's what I do. And that's how they kind of remember who we are.
So how much you mentioned this a couple of times with the idea of the presentation, and I'm thinking I'm hitting on something here that is another benefit to the type of shows that you're doing. But how long is a typical visit with you during a wedding show?
10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
My lead is I can be your wedding planner. I just can't pick out your flowers and your colors. But as far as your execution, it will be flawless. Now let me tell you how we do that. And then I go right into my presentation.
And that right there, I think is the huge difference. One with the shows that have a tremendous attendance piece. And so that's one of the things that you want to keep in mind. Like when I've done the shows, I've looked for the shows that get a lot of people. But if they're having to come around and have everybody sign, I can't spend
That's why I don't
10
like
minutes with
it.
them.
That's why I don't like it.
Like there's been times what I've tried to do for two reasons in particular, but I've tried to do I almost an elevator spiel type of piece. I try and get my personality to come across. I'm a stories guy. That's what I really try and push. I tell them the idea of the love stories that I do. When we're getting into that but what I start is I get their story. I ask them for their story. Hey, how did the two of you meet? That's like my opening. Like I don't even ask them, do you need a DJ? Do you need a photo booth? I'm just curious, how'd you and your fiance meet? And they tell me. And if it's a really cool story, I'm like, I love that. I love that. One of the things that we do is we tell your story. We help your guests so that if Johnny doesn't know if Johnny's family doesn't know how he and Susie got engaged, let's tell them. Let's share that moment with them. But I try and do that in a real concise, like if I'm talking to them for 5 minutes, I feel like I'm talking to Europe.
I want to make that connection because I can't talk to everybody. There's some that's like a shotgun. They'll just pass out cards as everybody walks by.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want to make connection with my brides. And those are the ones I'm going to book. Will I email everybody off their show list? You betcha. But we gather their name, address, email address, and date, and the services that they talked about. Maybe what their venue is. Little notes. We have a little note sheet that we take. And they would say, hey, can you fill us out? I'm not going to pull full court press on you. Just going to email you after the show, see how things went, and maybe set up a conversation after this madness, and they fill it out every single time. If they're not interested, then I know they're not going to answer. If they're say, oh, we're still looking. Cool, man. Good luck. Wish you the best of luck. Um, but it's a matter of I want that 10 to 12 minutes with that couple. And I'll close more at a bridal show than I can shotgunning cards to everybody that that's walking by.
Mhm. I just feel like they get so overwhelmed. Like that's what I get a lot of times, and I think why I've gone to that. I don't want to say shotgun, but it's about halfway in between, right? Between the just give them a card and have them move on, and having a full on like long conversation with them, is that when they walk in, like I get this look, like think about you, anybody who's listening, think about the first time that you went to a trade show and you walked onto the showroom floor, like you went, oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to begin. And so they start walking around and they get overloaded because there's 35 DJs and there's two photographers. That's another issue that I have with some shows. Um, but I feel like they get so overwhelmed that I don't want to add to that stress.
But did you buy off Ben or Cat because they took the time with you? Or did you buy off XYZ because they gave you a price sheet of their speakers and didn't tell you anything about the product?
Yeah, but they didn't take the time with me at the show.
Ben and Cat do every single. I can walk up and talk to
Well,
Ben and
yeah,
Cat at
but
every
I
show.
knew them by that point. By the time I ever was introduced to them at
But
a show, I knew who
but
they were.
even if you
That's
didn't
not
know
fair.
them, even if you didn't know them, they would take their
That's
time
true.
with you.
That's true.
And who would you
That's
buy
true.
off? Because you trust them.
Right.
They listen to you. You listen to that bride. You heard their story. You talked to them. You cared. You cared
Yeah.
enough to talk to them.
And that's what I tried to do, but I'm really gonna have to revamp what I'm doing. I have to
Because
revamp what I'm doing.
you're not going to book everyone you're shotgunning.
No.
You're gonna get less. You're gonna get less bookings. But if you take your time and talk 10 to 12 minutes, or maybe more, if you're gonna book it,
Yeah.
who
Well,
cares?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
you know what I'm
different.
saying? If you have that synergy, because they're more than likely gonna book with you.
So okay. So you're giving them the price sheet and the business card, and you collect the information and everything else that goes with that. Um, because I'm looking at the time, and so we're gonna have to speed some of this up. But
I'm sorry.
no, no, it's a good topic. I mean, we probably could make two or three nights out of this. Um, do you do do you do a deal or anything like that if they book you at the show? Okay.
Oh
Or anything even if they book from the show?
no, no,
Okay.
sorry. I don't give a discount for Fridays either, because I'm like I'm
Is
gonna
that
work just as hard on a Friday than I'm on a Saturday. So
well, yeah, and that's fine. And I'm just kind of throwing that out because I know some people are big believers of having a show special and things of that nature. I'll be honest, I've tried it both ways. The only thing that has been an advantage to a show special is that I get a response a little sooner than I have. Like when I've tracked them, like I put a time limit of like 2 weeks. I get an inquiry within those 2 weeks. Um, when I'm not, it doesn't necessarily appeal. But for me, usually my show special was like I would throw in like a monogram or something like that.
again, people got to understand that I've been in my market for 18 years. I've been, in my market. I'm not a new DJ. So if it is your first bridal show and you feel like you want to give $200 off or whatever, you do you. You're going to do what's best for you. Don't take what I'm doing as gold. I stand my price. I stay by my price. Um, Everybody else is discounting. I'm like, and I tell them, I said, you may see people doing bridal show specials, but all they did was raise their price just to give you that special, and they're back down to the same price they are anyway. So I'm going to shoot you straight. Mine's, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then when and whether the guy does it or whether he doesn't do it, I put that thought in their head that they just raised their price up to lower it, to get the same price they were going to be at anyway. So, um, I know I'm an asshole, but it's what I do. I mean, but I stand by my price because I feel I'm worth that.
Well, and that's why I got away from like back in the day, I would discount, right? I would take, save $100, save 200, whatever it might happen to be. And then kind of that standpoint of I was like, I realized that I was no longer whatever price it was that I was charging, I was now this new price because that's what I was selling. And so that's when I went into the, free upgrade or whatever that really didn't cost me anything, but it was an opportunity to kind of catch them, if I will. But again, as Cubby has said, if you can set yourself apart with your personality, that's going to make a big difference. One thing that I love, and this has been kind of my philosophy with shows. I personally don't like wedding shows. I know there's a lot of DJs who don't for a multitude of different reasons. But my biggest thing is I want to be at a show where I can showcase myself, right? And so there's one show in particular, unfortunately it went belly up, or I shouldn't say went belly up, but they just don't do it anymore. I guess maybe that's belly up. But the first part of the show, I was down in the big room with everybody else. And this is a show that would have 6 other DJs there. One of them was somebody that's in my local market that does good work and has a lot of the bells and whistles. So that nice clean setup, he's got that. And a few other things. So it was a little harder to kind of distinguish myself in some of those pieces because I also was shotgunning. So that might be the big difference too. But they would have a fashion show that was in another room and I would provide the sound for it. And the one dress company would provide me all the music. These are the songs we want. The other dress company was like, I just want some fun stuff. And I got to have some fun with that. And I got to MC leading into the show. I got to MC coming out of the show. And they would do the prize giveaway after that. And I got to MC all that. That show, I always booked at least 2 or 3 that I could 100% attribute to only that show. Like they didn't get my information from a venue and they heard about me at the show. They heard about me at the show and that's why they were there. And so I'm a big believer of if you got an opportunity to showcase who you are, what you do, how you do it in some form or fashion like that, it's a way to make it easier for yourself. It
And
really
maybe a
is.
discounted booth. Uh, I was in the
There,
same
yeah,
situation. Now I was literally in the same situation, and I said, yeah, I'll trade at my booth, providing all the audio for you, so you don't have to buy it from the hotel or whatever. Be more than happy to provide all that for you. And if I get a chance to MC, great. And we actually had a travel company giving away a honeymoon. So we got to play the not so newlywed game or the newlywed game because they were getting ready to get married. So, and it was very fun and entertaining, and people stayed around for that. So, yeah, anytime you can trade out, or if you just want to volunteer to do it, just for that exposure. But when you're negotiating that deal, make sure that um, you know, everything's provided by. Have you changed your name yet?
not yet.
Oh, I won't say
I'm
it
still
then.
working on it.
I won't say that. All Entertainment by Dan Carpenter Entertainment. I forget what your name. I know what your new one is.
Yeah,
But make sure that in all the and every ad that they premiere, brought show all music provided by such such entertainment. Make sure it's
yeah, and that
negotiated in there.
and that just gets your name in a lot of different places. That really is a huge benefit to you. Um, to show to kind of say, learn from my mistakes. One of the shows I did when I first got started doing shows, and it was in this area here, they charged the DJ as a premium for doing that. And I bid on it and I paid for it. And so I had my booth and then I went over there and I did an MC. I barely, I don't think I even selected the songs. They gave me a CD. This is back when we were playing CDs, gave me a CD to play. That was, and I paid extra for that. Oh my, when I was done, I was livid because one of the huge problems with that is I was now in another room behind my system playing music. I was not interacting with anybody. I was not talking to any of the couples that were not in that wedding show or fashion show. Like, oh, it was bad. It was bad. But needless to say, I learned from that, and that is not the situation with the other place. Well, not anymore. All right, so real quick here, when it's all said and done, you said you get the list and you send and you email out. Do you drop them into your CRM? Like, do you drop them
Yeah.
into DJ Event Planner?
No, not until they actually respond back. So the ones that I talk to directly go get a separate email than the ones that I didn't get to talk to. So the
Okay.
ones that I talk to directly, get, hey, thanks for stopping by the booth. I really enjoyed talking to you. I know what their venue is, so we talk a little bit about the venue and like, things of that nature. So they get a whole different email because we've made that connection. They know, or you talk to Dan and there, you talk to Bailey, whoever DJ they might have talked to. They get a hold of it. The ones that when I get the list the from the show, I purify it from the couples that I spoke with, take their names completely out of it. My show is really good. The one that I do lets you know what they need. They need a venue, they need a DJ, whatever, and they mark those certain items. So I sort. Everyone needs a DJ, and then they start getting automatic emails going, "Hey, um, don't know if you stopped by our booth or not, but really excited. We're there on the second floor or whatever. If you're still looking for a DJ company, I'd love to talk to you. And then that just goes out. And once they respond in, do they come into the CRM? I don't want
Nice.
to
And then
inundate. Yeah, because I got like
you start your trip
700,
with them.
700. They talk about 700 couples signing up or whatever, 500. I don't want 500 potential
Oh
leads in
yeah,
my DJ
no.
event planner.
Yeah, no, that becomes a whole other ugly mess if you're dealing with shows that big. I mine were mainly in the 2 to 300, and I would easily narrow down about 100 of them for either they had a DJ or they were dates that I was already reserved. So I was like, that's not like I wouldn't even bother reaching out to those from that standpoint. So okay. All right.
And dress the way you would for a wedding. I
Oh
mean, I get
yeah.
some people come in for polos or whatever. I guess again, you do you. We come in the style that we DJ in, you know,
Yeah.
um, just so they can see it. And we've got a real modern look, you know.
And that's the thing. I would, take a few minutes to make sure that your look is what you want it to be, but it's got to be matching your brand. It's got to be something that's going to fit with who you are. And kind of going down that route, because if you're going if you're coming in like the short sleeve button up with your name of your company embroidered here, not exactly the most modern look. And what that also tells the couple is, are they going to show up to my wedding looking that way?
See, I got to
And
dress the way that I'm not, because if I dress the way that I am, I'd be like a walker and a cane, and kind of, I'm kind of old, so I have to dress up. I have to dress up. I'm not like as pretty as you young people, so I have to. Mine's a little bit different, but no, you dress your wedding vibe.
definitely, definitely. We didn't really have comments. I mean, we had some comments in the chat. We didn't really have any questions though. So I'm just going to say, if you've got questions, by all means, reach out to us. Let us know. We'll be more than happy to share some of this. As Cubbie has mentioned, he's had success because of what he does in his market to begin with. So there is some established piece right there. So some of you may say, well, what Cubbie's saying, hey, I've tried that and it doesn't work for me. Keep in mind, you might be different than him, right? Your situation might be different. The type of show, right? If you're doing a show that's a cattle call and they have to talk to everybody and you're by yourself, taking 10 minutes with somebody isn't going to work, isn't going to cut it. Um, one quick tip that I've had success with, and I know others that have had this success, is getting a former couple, whether it's the bride or the groom, or typically brides tend to do better for you when you're at a show. If you're a guy, it's good to have a girl there I'm not trying to be sexist, but ladies feel more comfortable talking to the ladies. So if you've got somebody who has past experience working with you and you bring them along, one, it now gives somebody else that can give you a personal review while you're right there. It can also kind of deviate. So they can talk some things and then pass it off to you when they need to talk more specifics. And that hey, by the way, you wanted to know how much I charge, right? And that was, or whatever the wording that Cubbie so eloquently put. So using some other people like that can be beneficial to you and can add that extra piece. And I know a lot of couples, if you did a great job for them, they can't wait to sing your praises. They might be a little bit frustrated to give up a Sunday. So obviously, give them some money or give them, dinner out on you or whatever might be the case. But use that to your advantage. Use
And
that helpful piece there.
depending on your family situation, maybe your wife or your spouse can come in and help tag team a little bit, especially if they took if it is you have to sign something, maybe they sign it for you, and you can still talk to all the customers, or she can run interference if you have a spouse that if you have small children, they have to find a babysitter for or something. But a spouse works well too, or photo booth operator. If you're just a single up and your spouse doesn't do a photo operator as there's options. There's options is what you can do.
Exactly. Exactly. So, on that note, hopefully everybody got some ideas, some insight of definitely some things to try and give yourself kind of that edge up as we're going into wedding show season. Again, notice we didn't talk a ton about that setup piece. I know that there's some people that will spend, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on backdrops and banners and everything else. It's going to be your personality that's going to set you apart. Make sure what you're doing looks clean. Make sure what you're doing looks good. But ideally, that's what's going to work for you even more so um than having that over the top type of pieces. Coming up here in just a few moments, DJNTV.com/chill. That is hanging with Howie. Howie and the guys and the girls are going to be chatting out, and you can have a chance to kind of view what they're doing personally there. And then when they're done, they stop the recording. You hang out. It's kind of that hallway talk. Maybe you'll talk wedding shows, or just get some other insight of what some other people are doing. Tomorrow night, Corin Langford of Exquisite Sounds Entertainment will be on with Big Daddy at 9 o'clock. So you want to make sure you're back here on YouTube checking that out. And then the Tuesday night music show, again, back at DJNTV.com/chill. That'll be on at 10 o'clock where you view that. And then Wednesday night, you've got the rebroadcasts of the Tuesday night music show and the Hanging with Howie that's going on tonight. So that's the stuff that's coming up this week, as well as, of course, John's DJ tips on tomorrow morning and mine that'll come on Wednesday morning. So on that note, thank you so very much for tuning into the show. Again, we could not do this without you. We very much appreciate it. Make sure you're giving our sponsors some love. Their information is down in the descriptions. Check them out. Tell them we sent you, and we would very, very much appreciate that. Have yourself a good one.